I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, who is running a little bit late from seeing a patient. And we're on your hometown station, KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And our guest this morning is Dr. Dortha Chu, who is a breast surgeon from City of Hope. And along with her is her trusty companion, Mandy.
Nice to see you
Mandy
again, Barbara.
comes with every doctor who comes in here. So
I'm a sidekick.
there you are. Welcome to both of you.
Well, thank you so much for having me back.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.
Yes, it's good to have you. And I wanted to ask you a question.
Yes.
Is there an increase in breast cancer?
That's a really, really good question. And it's actually kind of a hard question sometimes to answer because it certainly seems like it. We talk about it a lot more. It seems to be a lot more visible. I think if we really look at the numbers, the overall trend isn't that we're necessarily increasing incidence of cancer, breast cancer, but that we're getting better at detecting it. And so the majority of cases now that we find are in very early stages because of mammograms and patients being more aware of their own bodies. We're just having patients present earlier with a problem. So I think that's probably more of the trend rather than necessarily that more patients are getting cancer because it's increasing in incidence.
Well, when you say in early stages, does that mean surgery or can it be eliminated with shots or medication or anything like that?
Right now, we're still looking at primarily surgery with early stages. We still find that the most effective first treatment for a small early cancer is just removing it from the body. Having said that, medication is playing a bigger and bigger role because we're now using medications that are easier to tolerate, both in terms of side effects, as well as the fact that most of the time these breast cancers are responsive to hormone blocking, and that comes in the form of a pill that you can take once a day. So, so treatment medically is getting easier to do and easier to tolerate. We're not quite ready to say that medicine alone is enough to treat all breast cancers, but they certainly are playing a bigger and bigger role. And in older patients, especially, it's really becoming an area of interest because we are trying to minimize what we need to do for older patients because surgery can sometimes be a challenge for them from an anesthetic perspective, from a healing perspective, and that generally, these breast cancers can be more lazy or indolent is the technical term. And so they respond very well to hormone blocking and they don't grow very fast to begin with. So putting patients on medication may be enough to keep it under control. And so maybe you don't have a full cure necessarily, but you control it enough so it doesn't matter because it's not going to be a problem.
Well, now, does that include chemotherapy?
It can. Again, that's sort of the newest area that now we even have some actual chemotherapy agents. They're not hormone-based, so they're technically chemotherapy, that come in the form of a pill, both for breast cancer as well as for some of the other cancers, that also, again, better tolerated, and so for older patients can be an option for them. Again, we're not quite ready to say that you can get a cure with medications alone, but that may be the next step. And I wouldn't be terribly surprised in the next 5 years if for certain types of breast cancers, we may just use therapy with medication rather than any other treatment.
But most of what we're doing right now is predicated on finding the disease early.
Yes,
And
that is true.
That's big time. If you're hesitant about getting testing, doing a mammogram or having a biopsy, you can get second opinions. You can look it up on the
Absolutely.
internet to allay your fears. But you're with City of Hope,
Yes.
and hope is where most of this derives from. But you have to look early, and if you
Absolutely.
don't, the body talks to you. It talks to us, the person, the patient, so that when you go to see your doctor can interpret what those symptoms are.
Absolutely. I completely agree. the current recommendations change all the time as far as what ages you should get mammograms, what else you should do, and so right now a sort of formal self-exam is not recommended. My take on it, though, and a lot of my other colleagues all feel the same way, which I think is that it's not so much the self-exam is not a good thing to do, but it's exactly what you just said. It helps you to be aware of your own body. And so if there are changes, the earlier you report them, the more likely it is that we can do less and accomplish more in terms of your overall treatment. But not to do any of that, I think, ends up costing patients in terms of their options, because they're more likely then to present with later disease, and some of these early options are not as viable and not as effective.
Yeah, it's interesting because I went through cancer, and my body told me that something was wrong.
Yes.
And I've always known my body fairly well. And I had severe indigestion. And I never have indigestion, never had. And for pretty close to 2 weeks, this kept coming and going and coming and going. And I thought, you know what? It's not going away. Let's go check it out.
Yes.
So I went to the doctor, and he said, let's get an MRI. And sure enough, it was lymphoma.
Wow. Wow.
But mine was, I'm pretty sure mine was an offshoot, one of the side effects of methotrexate.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Because I was on one shot of methotrexate for 6 years, one shot a week for 6 years, and then they didn't make it anymore.
Yes.
And then that 4-month period that they didn't make it is when my symptoms started showing up.
Wow. Wow.
And I thought, whoa. But back then, I didn't know that it was a possible side effect.
Sure.
Because it wasn't advertised.
Sure.
And now it is. All of those cancer drugs now have possible side effects, lymphoma, different kinds of cancers, and what have you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I guess I'm amazed that that they didn't do it a long, long time ago, because I'm sure other people.
Well,
have
you
the
know, it's
same-
hard because with a lot of these sort of what we would talk about as secondary cancer, so secondary to other treatments, radiation treatments. We used to do those for other types of diseases that were benign or cancerous, and medications. Some of them we don't know that there is sort of this delayed, onset of having certain types of cancers until people have been on it long enough where now it's showing up. And, and oftentimes it could be 10 to 15 years after you start a medication and before some of these symptoms become obvious. So now, obviously, the more we know about them, the more likely it is we're able to report them. But that... that's sort of the plus and minus. I always tell patients there's no such thing as a benign treatment, harmless treatment. There's always going to be pluses and minuses no matter
Right.
what we do. We just try to minimize the minus and make sure that we, do the best pluses that we can give. But it's always going to have that sort of dichotomy. Fortunately, a lot of the medications these days, we are better now at targeting specific aspects of the immune system, for example, so that some of these things, some of these delayed onset problems should be minimized because we're able to target better. But that's the advancement of science, and I know
That's
we're just
true.
going to get better and better. I mean, it's actually really amazing how far we've come in just the last 15, 20 years in being able to do that. But I agree. I mean, it's always going to be something that we always have to think about is what is the immediate benefit, and then what could be potential long-term consequences.
So just talking about breast cancer, and you mentioned changes.
Yes.
That early onset of the disease, a disease in the body where it's not recognized yet, but we're talking about breast exams, but there are other things that go along with it, constitutional symptoms maybe, and physical findings that we might want to go over and talk about, so that our seniors especially who are listening, who think, oh, I'm not going to get breast cancer, but they can. So
Absolutely.
let's talk a little bit about the findings that they should be looking for with their, not just the symptoms, but just physical findings that they might find?
Sure. Well, the obvious one, of course, is do you feel a mass, a lump in the breast? Now, having said that, most lumps in the breast are completely benign. They typically fall into one or two categories: a little water bubble or cyst,
That's what
or
I
a
had.
little and they're very, very common. They're the most common lumps at any age. The second most common are fiber balls, or fibroadenomas is the technical term. They're sort of various forms of fibrous growth that are completely harmless, but can feel very hard and disconcerting. So certainly just feeling a lump doesn't automatically mean you have a problem, but certainly it's a potential indication that there's some kind of change happening in the breast. And just by texture alone isn't always enough, although there are certain physical things that we do look for. So a lump that is freely moving around, you can kind of roll it around like a marble, are generally speaking more likely to be benign. Things that feel more like it's stuck either to the skin above or to the muscle underneath so that it's hard to move it, those we tend to, are a little more wary and cautious about and definitely need to be looked at.
If you stand in front of the mirror and look at your breasts, sometimes you can see asymmetry, and that could be normal.
Absolutely.
But sometimes you need to look at the how there might be changes even at the skin level.
Oh, absolutely.
That you might see a pulling or a cavitary type of look to it, and
Yes.
then you can feel around there, because cancers tend to, their masses, they grow, they occupy area, they pull in tissue and try to kill you and spread. So they're with that, they're also pulling things in like a dark star or whatever.
Yes.
And you by just looking in the mirror, you don't even have to do a self-exam. You can just look in the mirror, and sometimes you'll go, hey, that looks like a problem. Even when you
Absolutely.
do an exam, you really want to feel under your arms in the axilla, just to make sure that there's no other areas there. And then the critical thing that we don't talk about that much is for men.
Yes,
Men get about,
absolutely.
is it 10% or less than 10%?
Less than 10. It's more like maybe about 5%.
Yeah, but men get
But still,
cancers too.
absolutely.
And a lot of times they're cysts.
Yes.
But if they're cancerous, the bad part statistically, I think, is that when you find breast cancer in a male, they're usually at a later stage where
Yes.
If they had thought about it or sought help earlier, that may have changed the outcome. But guys don't think about it. They're all thinking,
Yes.
oh, it's just in women, but it's not. It's in our
Absolutely
senior
right.
guys too. And why that happens, I don't know if we know. I don't know if genetic testing bears that out for them, like
Yes,
for women.
actually, it
But
does.
you have to be, guys have to be aware as well.
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right. There's a couple of components. There is always a little bit of breast tissue, even in men, underneath the nipple. And that's just development. We all have that. And that is the tissue that can develop into a cancer, just like it is with women. Statistically, they just have less chance of that because that amount of tissue is so small, so that the chance of something happening in that little tiny bit of breast tissue is rare. But you're absolutely right. It is not impossible. Now, there are certain genetic conditions that will increase your risk. So certainly the familial genetic one that most people heard about is the BRCA gene. I always call it the Angelina Jolie gene with my friends, because with my patients, because that's sort of the face of it now.
Yes.
That people are kind of associated with that. But there's actually a number of genes that kind of fall into that family. But the bottom line is, if a man has that genetic mutation, it does increase their risk of getting breast cancer as well as some other cancers. It's a misconception that genetically breast cancer is in the female line. You can certainly inherit the gene from your father's line, so to speak, and along the father's history, just as easily as you can from your mother. It's just obviously in the paternal line, we may not see the incidence as often, because if it's more men than women, again, even with the genetic, even with the gene, it's still rare, but still it's possible. So you certainly see it more among women. But absolutely, I always ask patients about their father's side of the family just as much as I ask about their mother's side, as far as assessing their genetic risk.
It's so interesting. It's such a shock when you hear a man, he has breast cancer. What?
Yes.
He doesn't have any breasts. What do you mean? Because you normally think of breasts
Yes.
of being a larger
Absolutely.
area, and it's always been such a shock to me when I found out that
because
this guy has cancer.
We don't call them breast.
cancer.
We don't call them breasts. We call them pecs.
Yes.
Because we're buffed up.
That's right. That's
yeah,
right.
my
That's right.
pecs.
Yes. Yes.
So you have cancer in your pecs.
Yep. Pec cancer.
I didn't realize that. I'd never paid any attention to it.
Well, I think that's unfortunately, I think that is part of the stigma in a way for men, because of the fact that we don't call them breasts, we don't label them that. I think they're less inclined to look at themselves and check themselves, which is why it usually does grow to be a fairly good size, so to speak, before they get treated or even evaluated, because it's dismissed as being, oh, it's nothing, because risk of cancer is so rare.
Well, it's interesting because breasts I've always heard are boobs. Oh, look at that guy! Look at those boobs on him.
You don't hear that, do you?
Absolutely.
No.
Look at those pecs. Wow. I like it. But would you recommend that, nowadays, it used to be we'd have trouble with insurance companies ordering BRCA tests.
Yes.
Because it was very expensive. But nowadays you can, there are companies that will do these tests for you. I'm not sure how accurate they are or anything like that, but would you recommend that men and women get the BRCA test?
That's, thank you so much for bringing that up. I'm so grateful that I'm going to have an opportunity to say this now in public, which is that I would urge everyone to be very, very cautious about getting some of the tests that are advertised directly to the consumer. I don't want to name names, but these are ones that where they advertise, for less than $100, you can get not just your cancer risk, but what your ethnicity is and your racial makeup, etc. And I would caution everyone to be very, very careful with that test. Those tests that are available commercially, because they're not that comprehensive. They often only test for mutations that are sort of the highest in terms of percentage, but oftentimes that's misleading, because there are certain mutations that are the highest in terms of frequency, but they happen in a very specific group of people. And so if you don't belong to that ethnic group, you won't see that mutation. So being tested negative for that doesn't preclude you from having a mutation
Gives you a
somewhere
false
else.
sense of security.
Exactly.
Well,
and so I'd be very careful with that.
Yeah, you hear things advertised over the television.
Yes. And so it's great in that it's now become more accessible. Sure, anyone, if you have $100, you can get a test, but
not worth it.
It
It's
can
worth
be
it
misleading.
if it's a gift.
Well, that's true.
Birthday
Yeah,
gift.
but, you know,
Sure. I mean,
it's
I wouldn't
interesting.
say don't get it. I mean, if that's your only option, fine. But I just be very, very careful. If you have no family history at all, no one in the family with any kind of breast, ovarian, colon, those are the most common cancers, then I would say, sure, you're probably not going to be positive anyway. And if your test is negative, great, good for you. And you can use that. But if you have any real family history at all, especially if you have multiple female relatives with breast cancer, especially if they were diagnosed younger than the age of 50, or they have ovarian cancer in the family, or multiple family members with colon cancer, I would urge you to see a medical professional to get potentially a more comprehensive test that covers more mutations so that your test is accurate.
If though they get a test done and it shows an abnormality, certainly the next thing to do is not to go on the internet and try to figure it out yourself.
Yes.
The idea would
Yes.
be to go see your doctor.
Absolutely.
Send it to your doctor, email it, and put that in their lap, and then go in and visit, and try to
Absolutely.
go through what actually might be going on, and get the right information off the bat, as opposed to staying
Absolutely.
worried.
Absolutely.
That's why it's City of Hope. Like I said, it's hope, and you want to assure that the patients are in the right direction. That gives us hope.
Yes, I completely agree. And the key thing about that is what you just said. It's that you have to have that conversation with a physician, because then they can send you to either genetic counseling to get either a more comprehensive or more in-depth evaluation of your true risk and what are you at risk for, which cancers, what is the actual risk, because that could play into how well you'll be screened, what kind of test do you need, when do you need to start being screened. And this is covered by insurance. I mean, if you have enough risk, that's what I tell patients too. If you truly have a real risk in terms of your family history, insurance will cover that. It is the very, very rare policy these days that do not cover genetic testing under the right circumstances, meaning that you have a true risk. And that needs to be assessed by someone who knows how to do that. If your doctor knows how to do that, great. Most of the time, you'll be referred to a geneticist who will go through that with you, and that's fine too. But the key is, if you have a true risk, you will be able to get tested, and it should be covered by your insurance.
So let me put Mandy on the spot, because Mandy, City of Hope is here in our community. They have in Duarte their core satellite, their core facility, but here at our facility in City of Hope, do we have genetic counseling, genetic testing? We have the testing maybe, but do we have the ability to say, if we're just a community person, let's say they get a test and it's not normal, can we just call you up and say, you know, we're worried about this. Do you have somebody that can sit down and talk with me? Are there people in our local office yet that can come out or they can make an appointment with?
So we at City of Hope in Santa Clarita do not have a specific genetic counselor. However, we work with a lot of people in the community. So for example, in Mission Hills at Providence Holy Cross, we work with the genetic counselor there, which isn't too far from the Santa Clarita Valley as well. And it makes that accessibility available for patients here, so they don't have to go all the way down to Duarte to talk to.
But something to think about for
Yeah.
City of Hope to place somebody out here so we can end up having a source for our valley as opposed, and, you know, I think City of Hope is well respected, and having, you know, and putting out there are genetic counselors here to check what your DNA and all these tests are showing, you know, that would give them hope
Absolutely.
for sure.
Well, I can certainly just plug myself a little bit in here, and I'll insert myself a little bit in here, only because I actually do genetic counseling and genetic screening for breast. And to a certain extent for all the other related ones to breast as well.
Like ovaries?
So,
Yes.
so absolutely. So if you are either male or female, if you have like some of those risk factors that I mentioned, if you have more than 2 relatives with breast cancer in the same side of the family, if you have family members that were diagnosed with younger cancers, again, 50 is sort of our cutoff for younger versus older, and it's just a little bit of a statistical bias more than anything else, but that's kind of a cutoff. Anyone younger than 50, we certainly raise an eyebrow at. They're certainly welcome to come in, and I'd be happy to talk with them, and I'll go over their history with them, and we will talk about whether or not they have enough risk to get tested or should be tested. And then I can also counsel them about what the next step is, and then we can direct them to the appropriate screening person, so to speak, depending on what their risks are and what cancers are at risk for. So for right now, I'm sort of that person in our office.
Cool.
But if the need becomes more something that the community wants and supports, then I think that's something that we'd love to bring from our main facility out to the local community. It's still a kind of a scarce resource having genetic counselors because there are just not that many of them.
There's got to be, though.
But again, it's one of those services that we can absolutely provide, and we can hook you up to additional testing and counseling if you need it.
So if they need to get a hold of you, your phone number over there at your office, which is right next to my office, is 661-799-1999. That's 799-1999.
Yes.
Well,
Terrific.
Dr. Chu, we discovered a few things about DNA and that testing, but also discovered that you are a wealth of knowledge for patients here in
For
Santa
breast.
Clarita. And we're very proud to have you here, of
Well, thank
course,
you
with
very
City of
much.
Hope. And, thank you for being on our show. You gave us a lot of information today.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So we're going to take a break, come back with Nola Aronson on your hometown station, KHTS.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top-quality musicals and plays. Located on Main Street in Old Town Newhall, CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go online to canyontheater.org.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association has a new gallery in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Main and Railroad, right across from the Canyon Theater Guild. The gallery features our members' paintings, sculptures, and one-of-a-kind handcrafted gift items. Whether you're an art lover, buyer, or an artist wishing to join, visit our website at santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming events and exhibits, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
Aloha, friends! Go check out Honu Coffee, home of the best cold brew coffee. What makes their coffee special is how their organic coffee beans are infused with nitrogen to create a smooth and delicious cup of coffee. You'll also find traditional bold coffees and island-inspired signature drinks. They're the perfect place to catch up with friends or just relax with your favorite cup of joe. Honu Coffee on Lyons and Walnut in Newhall. Stop by and say aloha.
There's only one Santa Clarita plastic surgeon who is Yale trained and board certified, Dr. Justin Heller.
To be a board certified plastic surgeon like myself, what that truly entails is about 5 to 7 years of honed surgical training in reconstructive, all areas, as well as aesthetic, so which means your facelifts, your breast augmentations, your body contouring, true training, and board certification. In fact, that's the only board certified area that can be achieved in this realm.
Dr. Justin Heller, warm, understanding, always available for guidance because he's local. HellerPlasticSurgery.com.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign, next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM, 98.1 FM and AM 1220, your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. And now, our guests are from Advanced Audiology, the owner, Nola Aronson. Welcome, my love.
Hi.
And your guest is Beth Heiserman.
Yes, hello.
How are you? And I bet I know what we're going to talk about today. Have at it.
Our favorite thing, right?
Yes, the annual wine festival.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Beth is from Reyes Winery, and she's going to tell you about the exciting festival that we have every year.
Well, we have wonderful sponsors, and two of them are in this room. We have Barbara and her husband, Russ, and then, of course, I have Nola. So it's really exciting. Nola is our stage sponsor, and Barbara is one of our tent sponsors. In addition to that, we have Mercedes-Benz, we have California Bank and Trust, I have Farmers Insurance with Georgia Harris, and Realty Executives with Christine Sexton, and Steve's Valencia Florist, who's donated these wonderful centerpieces for our VIP table. So we're very excited about that. And I keep talking about it all week long because we're so excited.
I've been doing the same thing.
Yes. So it's been really exciting. We've got a lot of new vendors. We also have, I don't know, we're still doing really well on the ticket sales. I want to do a little bit more. So if everybody can go out and buy a ticket, we'd be really happy because we want to meet our goal this year for the festival. So,
and where can we buy the tickets?
We have them on the website at reyeswinery.com, sierrapolonavintners.com, here at KHTS Radio, and then also at Celebrity Beauty Supply off of Bouquet and Newhall Ranch Road.
And Steve's Valencia Florist.
And they have tickets there also.
Yes,
that's even more wonderful. So you have plenty of options where to buy tickets.
Absolutely. And can
what's
you
the
tell
date?
us the talks?
It's
the
April
cost?
21st. It's from 12 to 4. VIP starts at 11. VIP, we have, I think, 6 tickets left. So buy your ticket before it's gone.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then we have plenty of general admission still available. And so we're very excited. Mercedes-Benz is donating the wine glasses and the wine bags this year.
Wow.
So when you go home, you'll have something nice to take home with you.
More wine glasses.
Yes.
They're not giving a car, though.
No, but
Oh,
they're going to bring
shucks.
some cars so everybody can see how wonderful they are.
Ah.
It's a new dealership, so they are really trying hard to make sure everybody realizes, different staff. And Chris Paws, the general manager, is wonderful over there. He really is.
And he has his advertisement on television too.
Yes, yes, they do.
Mercedes-Benz of Valencia, which
Yeah.
is under new ownership.
Right.
And they state that.
Yeah, so
and
it's
I think
kind of
it's
nice.
wonderful. Yes.
Yeah. So we're excited. We're going to have auction items. We have a live auction and a silent auction. So we're really excited about that. I got some really neat stuff. One of the items that we just got this morning was from the Fillmore Railway. They are donating a trip to 2. So that's kind of neat. Little day trip.
I want one
For
of those.
2 people?
For two people, yeah.
Oh, I've been on that trip. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It really is.
Oh.
And do they still serve food?
I'm
on
not
the
exactly
train?
sure. I
'Cause-
just know that they have different trips, and depending on which one you go on, there's different options. Because one of them they offered was a murder mystery.
Huh.
And so there's different things,
Cool.
and that comes, I know, with dinner.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the
I've
one
been
I've
on.
been on.
I've been on
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
That is. That's fun.
So that'll be a neat item.
Yeah.
Very nice
Yeah.
item. It is. And if you've never been on that trip, it's worth taking. It
Yeah.
really is. Very informative. Very.
So it's exciting. It's exciting. We're going to have live music. We're going to have all kinds of neat new stuff. I have a lady, it's called the Pickle Bee. She does things that are preserved, like jellies and jams and pickles. And so
Cool.
we're excited to have another new vendor. And then we have Hanu Coffee, who is going to be serving coffee, and you can buy beans from him too. So if you haven't been to his location, you can come meet him at the festival.
Well, what's nice about having the vendors there, if you have food and drink vendors, they give you samples.
Absolutely, so you can experience what they
Right.
offer. Yes,
Yeah, and that's a nice feature in my opinion.
yes.
Really is. And then I think some of the other vendors, if it's jewelry or whatever it is, clothing, they give you a chance to win something.
Right, absolutely, with the auction.
Yes.
Yes. So we have plenty of wonderful items that we get from all the vendors also. We have one big package that we do for live auction, so you can take home something from the festival and then come back next year. So it includes tickets to the following year.
That's terrific.
Yeah,
And Nola, you are the main sponsor, correct?
I'm
You
the
are a stage sponsor. Yes. So she gets her name up on the stage and on a handful of the tents that we have, and then at the main banner. So it's always exciting. So when you go and listen to all the music and sit there, you'll have her name, and you get to have fun over there. It's a nice little area. It's tented. We have tables and chairs with the main stage, and it's relaxing. Last year the event ended at 4, and our bands didn't leave till 7. Everybody enjoyed it so much that they kept asking the bands to keep playing, and they kept playing.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's a plus for them
Yes.
and a plus for the attendees
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
You know,
So after the wine was done, everybody can sit and relax.
that's right.
And then they were able to drive home.
So this
There
is
you
at
go.
the
At Reyes Winery, yeah.
which is located, for some of our listeners who don't know,
We're at 10262 Sierra Highway right here in Santa Clarita. It's about a 15-minute drive here from the radio station.
Yeah, it's very, very close when you stop
Yes.
and think about
Yeah.
it.
It's amazing
As
that we have a
compared-
winery right
I
there.
know, as compared to other wineries that there are downtown Los Angeles
Right.
or you know where.
Oh, absolutely.
And we have one right in our back door.
We do. And there's lots of us out here. There is.
yes.
And every day that you talk to someone, you find out there's more and more that you don't even know that existed. You know, someone says, oh, yeah, we've been growing in our backyard too, and had no idea. So we have a handful of the home winemakers from the area that will show off what they do also. So
That's
we have
terrific.
someone who they've been doing it for about 2 years. And so they're not even ready or thinking of commercial, but they're going to bring a little bit of wine for everybody to taste.
Terrific. Now, is Juan Alonso going to be there?
We've been working on him. So we're going to make sure he says yes.
LaShen.
You hear that, Juan? Are you
Yes.
listening to KHTS Radio this morning?
He's been there every year, so I would say yes.
Okay, that's
He's a good supporter of the area.
Yeah, oh, he is mainly. And of course, his restaurant is to die for.
It is.
I mean, the food there is outstanding.
I was thinking about his duck the other night, the duck cranberry.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, that's what I like there.
Will they have samples of that there, Beth?
I don't know. We'll see
No,
what
I
he'll
think it'll be
bring.
mainly wine. If you can get him there, I hope you can.
Yeah.
He probably will.
So
I
doesn't
know.
this usually benefit some?
So this year we're benefiting Zonta. It's a
Zonta.
club here in Santa Clarita where
Never
we
heard
deal
of
with
it.
women's issues. And yes, Barbara and I are both members of
Yes,
it.
yes.
Yes.
I've been a member since 1986.
Wow.
Yeah. Been through almost every position except secretary.
I'm not a
No,
secretary.
except treasurer, because
Treasurer.
I'm not a money person. I barely even can keep my own checkbooks balanced. I've always miscalculated or subtracted wrong or added wrong, and I have to go through it, and because it drives me nuts. If I don't get it balanced, it drives me berserk. I keep at it and at it and at it, and if I can't find it, I'll make it happen.
That's funny.
Well, why don't we talk a little bit about Zonta, because I think it's an important mission in our community that has brought together so many groups, and it's flourished because of people like Barbara, who has just gotten out and said, we have to do things that benefit our community.
And it's mainly a club to improve the status of women.
Yes.
And help women. And we've been able to do a great job of that. And right now we're in the midst of grading and reading. I think we have 15 Virginia Rage scholarships.
Yes, I saw that this morning.
Yes,
Yes,
I
that's
think
very
the
exciting.
count is 15, and
Yes.
that is wonderful. And I printed them all out this time. I swore I wouldn't do it, but I thought, you can't read it when it's on your computer.
Can't.
You don't concentrate. At least I don't.
Right.
So I went ahead and downloaded everything, and I put it back to back. So I used fewer pages.
But how does the Virginia Ray Scholarship, what are the qualifications? What does that do for a young woman in our community who might win that?
Mainly, Virginia Rage was a beloved community member. She was a member of Zonta, and at age 50, she went through a horrendous problem in her life, and then come to find out she had cancer. And Diane Curtis, who is a past international president, she and I went to visit Virginia, because Virginia was a very dear friend of mine, and I think you probably know her too.
Well, I know her daughter. Her daughter was my hairdresser.
Oh, okay, yeah. And so Virginia, on her deathbed, gave us permission to start a fund in her name so that we could offer scholarships to women, mature women who have gone through a really, really bad situation in their lifetime, to help them get back on their feet, go to school, find something to do. And this year we have, like I said, 15 applications, which is wonderful. It really is. And that makes it really rough on us.
Yeah.
On the
On how to
committee.
decide.
Sure.
Oh, it's terrible, because you really you have a gut feeling that, oh, she really needs it, and she really needs it, and she really needs it. And we've upped the number now to 3 recipients.
Yeah, because I was going to say, maybe with the money that's being made at this festival, maybe there'll be more to be able to give
Absolutely.
more scholarships. So
Yeah.
Every year that we raise up until May, so it's June through May, we have whatever we earn goes to the following year. So then the following month, we sit down with the actual allocation meeting and decide where we're going to share everything. And so different scholarships, we love to give as much as we can give from whatever we earned.
Right.
So it feels good that you're
It
able
really
to help
does.
somebody that really needs it.
So does
Yeah.
Zonta announce that scholarship award at some point?
Yes.
Oh, yes, we
But they
have.
don't announce it at the festival that's
No,
coming up.
the winner actually gets announced in May. It'll be the second
May.
Wednesday. I think it's May 9th is the second Wednesday, and we actually have the awards banquet that night.
Oh, okay. So you do it at a banquet.
Yes, it's part of our business meeting that we do monthly, and it'll be held at the Embassy Suites.
So who do you guys recall who won it last year?
There were 3 women.
3 women.
I don't remember
So
who they are.
But do you? I mean, that would be nice to bring it up at the winery
Absolutely.
festival, just on your stage. Nola.
Absolutely.
At my stage.
You can announce the
Yes,
the
absolutely.
3
We'll
winners
have
and what
somebody
this is all about. and-
where it goes to and what we do. We actually went to a movie last Thursday night called Women Like Us. And
that was
it was very
awesome.
enlightening. It talked about a lot of women's issues abroad and locally. And one of them that I've been familiar with my whole life, I've been very fortunate that I haven't been a part of that because my family doesn't have that in their culture, but is the women's circumcision.
Oh yes.
And I know some of my mom's friends who grew up in Africa who were very aware of it. And one of my mom's good friends who was from Zaire. And so I remember as a young woman remembering stories that she used to tell us. And it was frightening to absolutely understand what you could have experienced. And so something like that, it's every time I hear about it or see it, it's like, wow, I can't believe it. And to understand that it just doesn't happen abroad in Africa, it actually happens here in Santa Clarita also. You're just not made aware of what happens out here because it's very hush-hush. It's illegal. It's been illegal from, I think, since 2003, I think it was, or 2006, something kind of new, where before that it was very common. And so now they have to keep it very quiet, but it still happens. And then the only way you know about something like that is when something goes wrong. And they have to rush the girl to the hospital and there's something wrong about it. But it's just a horrible, horrible thing to have, to endure and to have to experience the rest of your life, you know? And so it's one of the things that we do try to help what we can do with it.
Yeah.
Well, when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about the festival. And, you know, you're going to have an auction, and I think you said a silent auction
Yes.
and an open auction. So let's talk about some of the things that you might have there for our listeners. And let's also give the phone number and the website that
Sure.
can be reached where people can sign up. We're going to take a break. I'm Dr. Gene Dorio with my co-host, Barbara Cochran, on your hometown station, KHTS.
Come join me, Arif Halby, for Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Every Tuesday at noon, we uncover ways to help you manage your money, get out of debt, and prepare for your retirement. That's every Tuesday at noon on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Are you not sure if you can retire yet? Listen to us and learn about tips for savings, retirement strategies, and so much more. That's every Tuesday at noon on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour on your hometown station, KHTS.
Have you heard about Assistance League Retail Store? For a good time and a great deal and bargains that are an amazing steal, there are friendly volunteers ready to share a smile. So come on in and stay a while. We take donations on gently used goods, and proceeds from our sales stay in the neighborhood. So for a great buy and a special find, come visit our store anytime. Assistance League Resale Store located at 24369 Main Street in downtown Newhall.
It's not too late to start your finish at College of the Canyons. They have short-term classes starting in the next few weeks for all kinds of people. People who need weekend classes, people who like photography, people who like rock and roll, stargazers, cartoon lovers, wine enthusiasts, and more. Need flexibility? Check out the online classes they offer. There's never been a better time to start your finish. Visit canyons.edu/class schedule.
Santa Clarita Valley residents now have greater access to the excellent physicians and high-quality medical services for which Providence Holy Cross is known. Providence Holy Cross Health Center in Santa Clarita features state-of-the-art cancer and imaging technologies, as well as board-certified physicians in a variety of medical specialties. Quality and compassion from a healthcare provider you can depend on. For more information, call 1-888-HEALING or visit us at providence.org.
Now FM, 98.1 FM and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio on your hometown station, KHTS. And we're speaking with Nola Aronson of Advanced Audiology and her sidekick over here, Beth Heiselman,
Hello.
who works for Raya's Winery.
Yep.
And Nola, let's talk with you a little bit about how you're involved with this.
Well, so Advanced Audiology has taken on a role to be more involved in our community. We have like 100 nonprofits in this community, and our community is very philanthropic. And our community loves wine and having fun. So, and we love helping other people. So in the last 2 years, my mission has been to not only help people hear better, but to donate 10% of my hearing aid proceeds to different nonprofits that I believe in and that help our community out. So when you get a hearing aid from our office, Advanced Audiology, you not only hear better, but you get to give back to your community also. And so Beth and I have been doing this a number of years at Reyes Winery, and so it's always a fabulous event, and I love to help out, and this is a good cause this year with helping women, which I also am in a group that also helps women, the Seroptimists, and we all want to help each other. And like we said, when we went to the movie the other night, you know, women like us, we realized, you know, it was all Zonta and Seroptimist people in the movie, because we're all trying to help women who don't have the availability to get educated or, you know, whatever we can do. So it's nice to have this whole group of women. We had an event, Women in Service
Yes,
at
that
the
was
Hyatt.
a beautiful, beautiful event.
Yeah, beautiful event. Put on by Zonta, and
so many women in this community were honored.
Right.
Oh, it was really nice.
It was really nice, and it was very well done at the Hyatt. And so that was great. And so, yeah, that's what I like to do. So, and the weekend before, I'm also the title sponsor for the wine affair that we have on Sunday, April 15th. And so there are some tickets left for that also. So that's called the Wine Affair, and you get to eat, sip your wine, and stroll and listen to music. So we'll have 2 weekends filled with food and wine and fun.
Right.
For, you know, helping and having fun at the same time.
Absolutely.
And so I'm excited about that. And then my office is having an open house event on, well, we're having a lunch and learn on Monday, April 16th. And I'm not going to tell where that is, but you'll have to call our office to find out. We only have 20 seats. But it is a very favorite local restaurant here. And then the next 2 days we have an open house, and that's to learn about new technology in hearing and what's going on in the hearing world. So that will be April 16th, 17th, and 18th. And you need to call our office, which is 661-253-3277. Stands for EARS. So it's
253 ears.
Yeah, 253 ears or 3277, and we will be giving away free food. We'll be giving away discounts and probably a George Foreman grill if you do come there. And so call our office today. We gave away two of the 3-day, 2-night vacations when I was on the radio last month. 2 people called in. They got their free hearing checkups, and they got a 3-day, 2-night vacation. Oh, wow. So lots of exciting things happening here.
It is.
Yeah. So
you're going to be busy that week.
Yeah. We're going to be busy drinking lots of good wine. And Reyes Winery has some of the most fabulous wine,
Thank
and Beth makes most of it and lets me taste it. So I'm really lucky to be her friend. So, why don't you tell a little bit more about exactly where it is, the date?
The festival, it's April 21st. It's held at Reyes Winery. We're here in Santa Clarita, right off of Sierra Highway at 10262, right at the corner of Agua Dulce Road in Santa Clarita and Sierra Highway. We're 2 exits past Costco, so we're not that far away. We are very close. So there's no reason why everybody can't come out and visit and say hello and come support the festival. We have, we're talking about auction items. We do have a vacation. Sue and Al Hayward donated a vacation for us. Wow. So that'll be very neat. So that'll be one of our live auction items.
And he just passed away too, unfortunately. Pancreatic cancer.
And that's what my mom had. And
it's one of the fastest growing cancers there are.
It is.
And very few people survive.
Yeah.
Very few.
It's the most painful of all that there is.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
It sure is. But anyway, getting back to a happy note.
Let's get back to drinking. No.
With the festival. That's going to be fun. It really is.
And the city donated concerts in the park, and there's some really neat stuff that we've got out here locally for people to do. So I'm very happy about it.
So if people want to get a hold of you to get tickets, Beth, again, that number?
661-268-1865.
That's 268-1865?
Yes.
And then is there a site that they can go on?
They could go to reyeswinery.com.
R-E-Y-E-S.
Winery.com or the SierraPollonaVintners.com.
Wow.
That's a long
things
spelling.
going on.
Or come over to KHTS Radio and get your tickets here.
Yeah,
That's
you
right.
can come right here and get them.
Absolutely.
Nola, you are really busy. You're really busy. We appreciate that. And you sponsor our show here, too. We thank you for that. We are sponsored by Advanced Audiology and Comfort Keepers in Home Care. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. They'll go and enhance your quality of life.